Joining us now is Behnam Ben Taleblu. He's a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you for being with us, Behnam.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, Behnam, we have reports that the U.S. is bolstering forces in the region. Again, none of these confirmed, and perhaps the number is under dispute. But what's your read on this?
I think it is very likely that in the next couple of weeks or even the next month or so, we will have a report from the U.S. That will talk about a hardening or a thickening or a deepening of the U.S. defense posture in the region. Why? If you look at the four types of reactions that Washington has shown Iran in escalation since May, you have tough talk and diplomatic speak, you have economic sanctions and designations, you have cyber activities and cyber warfare, and then you have a hardening of the troop presence in the region, moving of military assets. And that seems to be the toughest thing that Washington at this moment is willing to do. And given that Iran is doubling down, it makes sense for Washington to at least establish parity, if not more so, and then seek to deter Iran.
All right, there are also reports that Iran may be planning some kind of an attack. Is an attack by Iran or its proxies likely at this point?
I think it's always likely, especially given the escalation cycle we have with Iran's responses to the U.S. max pressure campaign, as well as when you look at each theater or each country where there is a conflict, there are strategic and ideological as well as tactical imperatives for Iran to want to respond. Remember, Israelis have taken out much of Iran's infrastructure in Syria. They've extended the targeting of Iranian weapons depots into neighboring Iraq. Iran has an incentive there to strike back. In the southern tip of the Arabian Peninsula, Iran is continuing to bait and bleed Saudi Arabia into a longer and protracted conflict with only massive humanitarian suffering in a place like Yemen.
And Behnam, we're learning more and more about the brutality of the crackdown against demonstrators. Over 1,000 protesters killed. Now, last week, when the death toll was at around 200, we had 6 European countries deciding that that was the right time to bolster the regime by actively trying to help Tehran bypass the U.S. sanctions and joining INSTEX. I mean, perhaps it's not a surprise, but do you expect any kind of real response from the Europeans to these violent to the way these demonstrators are being violently attacked and killed?
It depends these days how you define the word real for the Europeans. So, you're mentioning the Scandinavian and Northern European support for the INSTEX special trade mechanism, which bypasses U.S. sanctions, by the way, and continues to try to find a way to give the world's foremost state sponsor of terrorism cash at a moment when it needs it, is a big problem. This is the time for Europe and social democracies around the world and liberal countries around the world, capital L liberal, to stand with the Iranian people who have similar, if not the exact same demands. They want representative government, and they don't want a revolutionary government in Tehran, and they don't want a revolutionary government doing these things, exporting its ideological conflicts abroad. So Europe is doing the wrong thing at the wrong time, and that's throwing this regime a financial lifeline when it needs it most.
Yeah, also interesting to point out that the Iranian Navy will be holding a joint naval drill with China and Russia on December 27th, so something for the world to watch out for. All right, Behnam, thank you so much. Appreciate your analysis and perspective as always. Behnam Ben Taleblu.